The ultimate upgrade, from zero to cosmic hero in a monster-filled world. Please like, share, and subscribe. Episode 81. Breath of Despair. Many people were surprised when Gu Jin and GCC came back hand in hand. The employees of the coffee shop were fine. Their boss prepared breakfast for Gu Jin every day, and they had already guessed it. And those customers felt heartbroken. After watching Gu Jin and GCC go up to the second floor, they all left sadly. Soon, the news spread and caused waves, but there was no shock. After all, Gu Jin is no longer the useless mud with only good looks, but a real genius. On the second floor, GCC smiled lightly and looked at Gu Jin holding her hand, and then met his eyes. The amber eyes were like glass, which made people fall in love. You still don't want to let go. GCC's words were gentle and intellectual, but also smart. Gu Jin smiled lightly and easygoing, without any embarrassment and restraint, and let go of his hand calmly. Come, take a look at the ingredients I brought back. Gu Jin went to the kitchen and took out the things in the space ring. Fortunately, he cut off all the ingredients in part, otherwise the kitchen would be bursting with the more than 10-meter-long octopus tentacles and the huge lobster. Octopus, salmon, tuna, lobster, conch. More than a dozen fresh ingredients. The meat of intermediate sea beasts is far from being comparable to ordinary seafood. For example, the salmon cut by Gu Jin is as bright as golden jade, with beautiful texture and transparent light. Okay, leave it to me. GCC pushed Gu Jin out of the kitchen room 597, changed into home clothes, and started to work. When the afterglow of the sunset permeated the sky, the seafood feast was ready. Sashimi, stir-fry, stew, soup, roast. GCC made a large table of dishes in a variety of ways. Yun. GCC smiled softly, and her delicate features were bright and charming. The taste of the intermediate sea beast meat was indeed good, and even GCC, who had a smaller appetite, ate a lot. After dinner and cleaning up, Gu Jin and GCC sat on the sofa, sipping tea and playing light music. Can you tell me what happened to you during this period? Gu Jin asked softly, trying to make his voice soft and soothe the other person's emotional ups and downs. GCC's gentle smile sank, her brows furrowed, and her glass eyes revealed a heartbreaking weakness. As GCC told the story, Gu Jin became more and more confused, because he found that it seemed really it was just GCC's psychological problem, but from the fear that she revealed during her narration, it was a deep fear. It was obviously not caused by an ordinary nightmare. As a result, the discussion ended in vain. At night, Gu Jin sent GCC back downstairs, watched her enter the building, and witnessed the lights on the 32nd floor. This time he did not go home, but sat down on the bench downstairs. He was waiting for GCC to fall asleep and encounter the nightmare. Suddenly, footsteps came, and Gu Jin looked up and saw that it was the young man from the law enforcement army. Gu Jin smiled and nodded as a greeting, then seemed to remember something and asked, I want to ask you something. The young man looked at him and nodded calmly. I plan to break into a private house later. I wonder what the punishment will be. Seeing Gu Jin's casual smile asking him this question, the young man was slightly stunned, and after coming back to his senses, he said, Are you going to break into Miss G's house? Yeah. The young man frowned, then relaxed. According to the law, trespassing, compensation, and at least 3 days of detention, depending on the severity of the case. Then the young man looked at Gu Jin. Of course, if the victim is willing to settle privately, then it's fine. The specific conditions can be discussed privately by the parties themselves. Oh, thank you. Gu Jin immediately understood. The young man's meaning was obviously to tell him to go ahead, he could pretend not to see it. GCC went to the beach to relax with Gu Jin today. Although she was interrupted by the invasion of sea beasts, it did not affect her good mood, and made her heart, which had been shrouded in haze recently, empty out of the haze. Took a bath, lay down, wrapped in a quilt, closed her eyes, and immediately relaxed into the quilt, feeling the comfort she had not felt for a long time. Maybe it's really her own psychological reasons? GCC thought, and then fell asleep quickly. Late at night, a melodious ballad ripples. It is a female voice, babg, charming and beautiful beyond words, but when you taste it, you find that beneath the charm is a terrifying gloom. GCC, who was sleeping soundly, had her long eyelashes trembling, and suddenly opened her eyes. The ballad ripples in her ears, unprecedentedly deep, making her body and mind strangled by fear. Here it comes again. It's still haunting. Click. Suddenly, there was a sound of the door she had locked, and the sound of the metal gears colliding was like a thunderbolt in GCC's mind, making her lose consciousness and her pupils constricted. Someone is outside. GCC's pupils were locked tightly, and her pupils were trembling. The fear that she had gradually wanted to let go and forget after today came back. And it was even more turbulent, so she couldn't stop it. Her eyes were filled with fear, and she looked at the door handle that was constantly being pulled. Click. Click. The twisting sound continued, and GCC was almost scared to shout out, but she covered her mouth tightly and bit her lips, not even noticing that her lips were bitten. The smell of blood spread in her mouth. GCC's spirit was almost broken by the sound of metal gears colliding. She stared at the closed door, covered her mouth, and her bright and gentle eyes were now full of fear. Desperate tears spread, blurring her vision, and crystal tears slid down. This was the first time she cried in so many days, and her cry was suppressed by her hand. People's fear comes from the unknown. Compared with the danger that is directly in front of them and makes people despair, the teasing of the unknown is more stimulating to the soul. That was the most cruel mental torture. When GCC lost her mind, invisible waves spread from the black gemstone on her necklace, penetrated into her mind, and invaded her mind, and actually wanted to wipe out her spirit and take away her body. But at this time, GCC's amber eyes seemed to have cracks like broken glass, and black breath spread out from the cracks. Huh? The soul-stirring voice came out from the black gemstone, and then the mysterious breath that was originally going to take advantage of GCC's mental torture to collapse and completely wipe out and take away her body take it back. Instead, a black light burst out, and the breath of inheritance was engraved in GCC's mind. GCC did not notice any changes. Like a puppet who lost his mind, she let go of her hand, her lips were stained with blood, her originally fair skin was pale and transparent at this time, and her eyes were still filled with tears, and she was determined in despair and hysteria. She walked to the door barefoot, staggered a little, held the door handle with trembling hands, gritted her teeth and pulled it open. Her eyes were full of cruelty. Even the most gentle person is forced into a desperate situation, either perish or explode to death. Episode 82. Unknown Inheritance. Gu Jin learned from his conversation with GCC that once she fell into a nightmare, she would be immersed in it all night and could not wake up until dawn. So, estimating the time, Gu Jin took out his brain to contact GCC, but there was no response, so he planned to go up to check. Ding. On the 32nd floor, the elevator door opened. The moment he stepped out of the door, Gu Jin's brows couldn't help but frown. The incandescent light illuminated the corridor, but it was obviously a hot summer, but Gu Jin felt a chill. He couldn't find the source of this chill, and his mental power couldn't detect any abnormality. It was like this. It was as if a faint cold wind was caressing the skin, making people numb. Ask. The footsteps echoed clearly in the empty corridor. Gu Jin walked to the door of the house where GCC lived. The door was closed. He pressed the doorbell, but there was no response. Gu Jin put his hand on the door handle. Hiss. It was like touching metal in winter. The stinging feeling of frozen metal and static electricity came, and the cold air penetrated through his hand, trying to invade his body. Boom. The golden flame in the heart burned, and the blood surged like a rolling flame, filled with a scorching breath, swallowing the invading cold air in an instant. Crack. Gu Jin exerted force with his hands, and the muscle lines spread all over his forearms. He burst out with all his strength, and the door handles welded by the solid alloy made an unbearable twisting sound. Sensing that the door was damaged, the formation engraved on the door was activated, but under the powerful spiritual energy and terrifying force. Crack. The loud sound echoed in the corridor, the formation was shattered, the door was violently opened, and the hole was twisted, but the strange thing was that even with such a start, GCC's house was still silent. As if he didn't notice it. At the moment the formation was activated, the young law enforcement soldier downstairs received a notice to go and deal with it. After the reply, the young man did not take action, but waited. Gu Jin opened the door with a broken lock and twisted frame and walked into the house. The house was pitch black. Gu Jin could only use his mental power to detect the surrounding situation. There was no one in the hall and the bedroom door was closed. Footsteps sounded in the hall. Gu Jin came to the bedroom door, knocked on the door, called GCC a few times, twisted the door handle, and found that the door was locked. Just as he was about to break the door violently, he suddenly stopped. Because he sensed a strong fluctuation of energy, which was spiritual energy. But this spiritual energy revealed dead silence, despair, curse, fear, destruction. Many ominous interweavings. Before Gu Jin could analyze the situation, he heard movement in the bedroom and footsteps approaching. Click. The moment the door opened, Gu Jin saw GCC's figure appear in front of him, a tall figure of 1.78 meters, wearing thin pajamas, barefoot, and long hair falling. But Gu Jin didn't have the idea of appreciating the other's good figure and beauty at this time. Because GCC at this time was completely different from the one he knew. Her skin was almost transparent, her delicate and perfect face was expressionless, her mouth was red, and there were traces of tears. Her gentle and elegant breath was swallowed by indifference, her eyes were filled with black light, and the thick dead silence, despair, fear, and destruction hit people's hearts directly. Sister Cece? Gu Jin called softly, and at the same time, a strange sense of crisis emerged in his heart, and he couldn't help but be on guard. The bedroom was still dark. In Gu Jin's mental perception, GCC was surrounded by a black breath. The spiritual energy he felt just now was this. He didn't expect that the source of the spiritual energy would be GCC. Hearing Gu Jin's voice, GCC's dead and empty eyes shook slightly, as if focusing on him. Are you okay? Gu Jin asked softly. The spiritual energy in his body was running, the golden flames were shaking, the blood was boiling and flowing, and the muscles were like taut strings, ready to explode at any time. Seeing GCC still silent, Gu Jin frowned and reached out to press the button on the wall. Click. The bedroom light was turned on, the darkness was dispelled, and the light came on. At the moment the light came on, Gu Jin saw the fluctuations in GCC's eyes, as if the dead lake was rippled by fallen leaves. The eye swayed gently, blinked, and the dead eyes focused and regained their brilliance. When she saw Gu Jin standing in front of her, the tears in GCC's eyes gradually gathered and burst out like a collapse. Crying loudly, crystal tears slid down her face. GCC covered her face with both hands, her voice was hoarse as if she hadn't spoken for a long time, and the strong grievances, fear, panic, and helplessness were all released in an instant. Zero asked for flowers. The crying GCC's figure suddenly shook and fell to the ground. Gu Jin pretended to reach out to catch her, but did not enjoy the warm fragrance and warm jade in his arms, and was still immersed in a clear and bright state of mind. It was because GCC's aura was too strange just now that he had to be on guard. After catching GCC, he saw her crying voice gradually weakened and turned into weak sobs. The weak expression on her face made people's hearts melt. Gu Jin carried her soft body into the bedroom and let her lie down. When he was about to get up to see if there was anything unusual around, he found that his hand was tightly grasped. Looking down, GCC's red eyes with tears looked at her, her eyes full of prayers. Gu Jin showed a gentle smile, sat beside her, and informed the law enforcement youth downstairs with his mental power. Then he asked GCC what happened just now. After listening to GCC's narration, Gu Jin was sure that the other party had fallen into an illusion before. She said that she slept with the lights on, but when Gu Jin arrived, the house was dark. And she didn't even notice the violent commotion when the door was broken. But what made Gu Jin feel strange was that he sensed it with the ghost fog secret technique, but there was no trace of the aura of the illusion. Is it really a terrifying existence? So he and the law enforcement officers can't detect it? But why would such an existence target GCC? And the strange change that GCC just had, that kind of desperate and ominous breath, is like an abyss. At the same time, Gu Jin thought of the female voice mentioned in GCC's words, which was pleasant, charming, but gloomy. While Gu Jin was thinking, he saw GCC frowned and suddenly picked up the black gem hanging around her neck. The moment he saw the black gem, Gu Jin's pupils shrank, and he took out the ruby he was wearing. After comparison, he found that except for the color, exactly the same. Could this be the culprit? I found that there are many more things in my mind, which are conveyed by this gem, and it seems to be inheritance. Episode 83. A creepy smile. Inheritance? Gu Jin raised his eyebrows, thinking of his experience in the secret realm ghost fog formation, and suddenly felt a sense of enlightenment. Looking at GCC's current appearance, you can know how much mental torture she has experienced during this period. After she survived, she obtained the inheritance in the black gem. Compared with Gu Jin in the ghost fog formation, although he easily got the ruby and gained the inheritance. Not every practitioner has a demon talent like Gu Jin, and all parts of the body can be upgraded to break the limit. Even so, Gu Jin still upgraded his eyes to have dialysis characteristics. Only with the standard answer can you enter the formation and reach the altar. A secret realm that only allows practitioners at or below the ancient realm to enter, but has set up such a terrifying formation, obviously not really wanting to leave a legacy. More like 433. The sudden rise of bad taste. GCC frowned slightly, then shook her head and put down the black gem in her hand. It should be the inheritance. According to the information in my mind, the nightmares I have had recently are all experiments. Only after passing it can you obtain the inheritance inside. But the information in my mind is too complicated and a little confusing now. Gu Jin nodded, and suddenly thought of something. Sister Cece, when did you start having nightmares? When? GCC thought for a while, raised her eyes and looked at Gu Jin. Only on the night you entered the secret realm. Really? Gu Jin turned his back to the light, his face shrouded in shadows, and whispered in an incomprehensible way. He had a guess that perhaps the crack in the secret realm space opened, causing the breath of the ruby to be revealed, activating the black gem, causing GCC to fall into a nightmare. But for some reason, he always felt that there was something weird in it, which was an indescribable intuition. Since the gate had been destroyed, and GCC looked weak, Gu Jin stayed to accompany her tonight. In the living room, Gu Jin sat on the sofa, while GCC wrapped herself in a blanket and curled up in a corner of the sofa in a trance. Looking at GCC's elegant and gentle face, Gu Jin still found it hard to imagine that the previous dead silence, despair, and the breath of destruction would emanate from her. After thinking about it, Gu Jin decided to ask. Sister Cici, when you opened the door just now, did you feel any changes in yourself, or do you feel any difference in your body now? Gu Jin's words woke GCC up from her trance. She looked at him and fell into deep thought. It seems that she felt something. Gu Jin saw this and thought that he was indeed surprised to see GCC's appearance at that time. Then he thought about it carefully and thought that this situation might be awakening. Even if GCC couldn't feel it at that time in the illusion, she should be able to perceive the changes in her body after leaving it. GCC obviously felt it after calming down. It was soon dawn. When the gentle morning light came into the house through the glass window, Gu Jin opened his eyes and looked at GCC, who was sleeping soundly on the sofa. Wrapped in a blanket, her slender body was leaning against the wall. Her sleeping face revealed a pure breath, and a trace of red at the corner of her mouth added to her charm. Gu Jin had to admit that a woman like GCC was poison to any man. As if he could feel the gaze, GCC woke up in a daze. Seeing Gu Jin staring at him, he smiled sweetly. Are you leaving? Gu Jin nodded. GCC did not try to stop him, and sent him to the door with gratitude. Gu Jin glanced at the twisted door. It's okay, I'll find someone to replace it later. I'm sorry for bothering you last night. GCC stroked her hair and said, returning to her elegant and intellectual appearance. Gu Jin nodded and smiled. If you need anything, come to me. GCC responded with a gentle smile. Gu Jin turned and left, walked to the elevator and pressed the button. Gu Jin. Suddenly hearing GCC's voice, Gu Jin looked back. Is this what you saw me like last night? Gu Jin looked back and saw that GCC's expression was indescribable at this time, with a black glow in her eyes, dead silence, deepness, fear, and an ominous atmosphere of despair intertwined. Add to that the red remaining at the corner of her mouth, a slightly raised strange arc, and a plain, soft voice, but with a coldness that echoed in the abyss. Gu Jin's eyes shone with a chill rising from behind. Even though the gentle morning light outside the window enveloped her and gave her a golden glow, Gu Jin could not feel the slightest warmth. Instead, she felt that even the sunlight was malicious. Haha, did you get scared? GCC blinked, and the previous scene disappeared like an illusion, revealing a graceful smile again. Gu Jin stared at her and suddenly smiled. No, I just found that this seems to be pretty good. Yes, at least in today's world, the other party has the ability to protect himself, and is no longer like ordinary people in the past, drifting with the waves. Although this ability makes Gu Jin feel ominous, and the inheritance is also weird, it can at least increase her strength and perhaps change her physique that cannot practice. DJ. The elevator arrived, the door opened, Gu Jin waved and said goodbye with a smile, and entered the elevator. GCC watched Gu Jin leave. In the elevator, the door was closed. The two looked at each other, with a gentle smile on their lips, until the elevator door slowly closed, blocking their sight. In an instant, the smile on Gu Jin's mouth was restrained, and his eyes revealed an indescribable meaning. After the elevator door closed, GCC's gentle smile sank, her face was expressionless, and the red at the corners of her mouth was extremely conspicuous on her white and almost transparent skin. Her eyes were like a lake under the moonlight, and there seemed to be a figure on the lake. Dancing. But is that dancing figure an elf or a devil? After walking out of the building, Gu Jin couldn't help but look back at the building, and his heart was inexplicably complicated. What kind of changes will people undergo in despair? I don't know. Because people are too complicated and there is no pattern to follow. No one can understand what kind of mental struggle and torture GCC, who was originally gentle and elegant, experienced in the illusion. Under such extreme repression, it is often easy for people to go to extremes. Just now, Gu Jin felt very strange about GCC. Logically speaking, with the perception of spiritual power and the eyes of dialysis, it is almost impossible for GCC to deceive him with acting. But Gu Jin clearly felt that GCC's gentleness and lightness just now were real, her frowns and smiles were real, but the weird smile and eyes that made people feel cold were also real. She is still the GCC he knows, but there is a deeper side that he doesn't know. Episode 84. The Limit of the Kidney. Gu Jin returned home, took a bath, relaxed his whole body, sank into the sofa, and started to upgrade. His kidneys have now been upgraded to vigorous +2. Last night, because he was at GCC's house, he did not upgrade. The first limit will not accumulate, but it has a validity period of 24 hours. Upgrade, kidneys. Boom. The feeling of the hidden power of the whole body about to burst out came again. Even though Gu Jin did not sleep last night, he still felt energetic. Now he felt that he could beat 10 people whether he was lying, standing, or lying. The upgrade was completed, and now the kidneys have become kidneys, vigorous, +3. Gu Jin, full of energy, began to make talismans. Recently, he has increased production, but the sales of the ancient artifact pavilion are still very good, mainly because he has accumulated customers in the early stage, and then he can introduce them to each other. Although the price is not as favorable as before, it is still cheaper than the market price, and those who have used it feel that the quality is guaranteed. With good sales, the daily turnover of the ancient artifact pavilion is also frighteningly large. Just 100 talismans are worth more than 200,000 spirit stones. It has also begun to attract the attention of many forces, especially the major shops that sell array talismans and talismans, which have been snatched away by the ancient artifact pavilion. A lot of business. Some people inquired about the situation of the ancient artifact pavilion. These forces thought that they must have a backer to be able to produce and provide so many talismans every day. But for many days, they found that only Gu Jin, a student of the academy at the Yangqi realm, would go to the ancient artifact pavilion every day. So they began to focus on Gu Jin. Of course, they would not think that these talismans were Gu Jin's work, but just thought that Gu Jin was the delivery man. But after observation, they found that Gu Jin's life was very regular. Apart from going to school, he basically had no contact with anyone. Ancient artifact pavilion, due to time constraints and school, so Gu Jin today the number of talismans produced is relatively small. After handing today's talismans to Qin Geng, Gu Jin glanced at the hidden places around the ancient artifact pavilion without leaving a trace. The spiritual perception between practitioners is easy to resonate and be discovered, but Gu Jin's ability to see through others is extremely secretive. He saw someone monitoring the ancient artifact pavilion. But he didn't pay too much attention. First of all, although 100 talismans a day are not a small number, they can attract the attention of those forces, but they are not enough to damage their interests. These forces are just curious about the situation, and they will not risk violating the rules of the Magic City to attack the ancient artifact pavilion for this little benefit. If it really caused dissatisfaction among the people in charge of the Demon City, the loss would not be comparable to the benefits of the ancient artifact pavilion. Their family is big and powerful, and the people in power will only be smart and will not make fools. So Gu Jin is not mainly on guard against big forces, but those who steal and do things. After all, it is easier to deal with the king of hell than the little devils. After telling Qin Geng to contact him if he has anything, Gu Jin left the ancient artifact pavilion and saw GCC's figure when he passed the coffee shop. After the nightmare was resolved and she had a night's rest, she was in much better spirits. She didn't look as haggard as before, but more radiant. Here. He handed the breakfast to Gu Jin. No more strange things happened, right? Gu Jin asked. GCC shook her head. No, the memories engraved in my mind by this pendant are beginning to be sorted out. I will tell you after I have sorted them out. There are many things related to cultivation in it, and I will ask you for advice then. Okay, of course it's no problem to ask for advice, but I must have a big meal to entertain you. Gu Jin smiled casually. In the academy, in the pavilion in the lake, he looked at the students around him who started to mock and hostile him when he arrived, then began to calm down after being suppressed by him. Gu Jin rarely smiled and nodded to greet them amid the strange looks of the crowd, which made them feel flattered. Because although Gu Jin usually always smiled, the people who had seen him show his strength were still frightened. His kidneys have been upgraded to vigorous +3, and he will break the first limit tonight. At that time, he will impact the Qinggu realm, and then apply for assessment and enter the Qinggu realm class. In other words, today is his last day here. Suing arrived and gave a lecture. No matter whether the tutors in the academy are indifferent, honest, kind or informal, they all have one thing in common, that is, they are extremely detailed and serious when giving lectures. Teacher. When the course ended and Suing was about to leave, Gu Jin stopped him. I shouldn't come tomorrow. Gu Jin said with a smile. Suing raised his eyebrows, felt the aura of Gu Jin, and immediately understood that this student who had only been here for less than 2 months and had mostly been in trials and secret realms was about to break through to the Qinggu realm. Such a speed shocked even him, who was used to seeing geniuses in the academy. Before Gu Jin entered the class, he had heard that this student was a brilliant talent, but now it seems that he underestimated it. Gu Jin might be a genius. Suing nodded. The student said goodbye, and he should have said something normally, but he was not good at speaking. He pondered and said, "Come on, try to get into a better class, and you will get more resources then." After a few simple conversations, Suing left and Gu Jin went home. At night, the clock hands passed the 080 morning hour, and the upgrade times were restored. Upgrade, kidney. The energy was roaring and raging, and Gu Jin's little 18 started to get angry again. At this time, the 2 kidneys had a strange feeling, as if the hidden primitive energy was surging. But it was not the kind of boiling and blazing heat, but rather warm and comfortable, fierce yet gentle. When the upgrade was completed, Gu Jin looked curiously at the characteristics of the kidney after breaking the first limit. Kidneys, vigorous, +3, moist, +1. Moisturizing? Yes, it is indeed very moist. Kidneys belong to water. Even if they provide tremendous energy, like locking a prehistoric beast, they still give people a warm and gentle feeling, cool as water, moisturizing, and flourishing. The kidneys broke the first limit, and Gu Jin sat cross-legged and circulated his spiritual energy. The vast spiritual energy that filled the dantian with vast characteristics surged like a tsunami, and the upgraded characteristics of the kidneys were stained with aura, and then spread in the spiritual energy. With meridians, dantian, heart, thunder, and other characteristics, they were quickly blended. Gu Jin sensed the extremely powerful spiritual energy that melted various characteristics. Spiritual power, golden flame, brilliance, condensation, thunder, vitality, etc., and even the illusion of the encirclement. These characteristics are stained with aura, stained with spiritual energy, and after being forged all over the body, they are integrated. Now his spiritual energy does not seem to have specific characteristics, but it contains all characteristics. Episode 85. Upgrade talent changes. In the process of blending the characteristics, Gu Jin found that after integrating the characteristics of the lungs, the aura changed and became sharper. The sort of breath that was originally brewed in the lungs and emitted from the mouth and nose can be used from all parts of the body in the form of aura release. If there is a point of force, Gu Jin can point the sword, and there will be an invisible aura-sharp sword breaking through the air and piercing the void. And the advantage over using the mouth and nose is that in addition to being flexible in application, the output is also sufficient. The mouth and nose can only attack a distance of 10 meters, but the method of aura release can reach dozens of meters. Of course, it is slightly inferior in terms of stealth. All the characteristics are integrated, and Gu Jin looks at the aura surging in his body. Originally, after the aura was contaminated with various characteristics, there were different colors intertwined. Now it is blended into one, and the aura has become transparent like nothingness. It exudes a shocking breath. Finally, it is time to step into the Qinggu realm. The mind was concentrated, and the spiritual energy was surging. For Gu Jin, who had been ready to break through at any time, the fragile shackles were shattered with just a thought. The spiritual energy penetrated the 12 meridians of the human body, the 8 extraordinary meridians, and all the subtle meridians in the body, and then communicated with the mind consciousness. After the normal Qi nourishing realm practitioners communicated with the mind consciousness, they would have mental power. But Gu Jin himself had mental power, which made his situation different from that of ordinary people. At the moment of breakthrough, Gu Jin felt that his mental power was sublimated, and the mental power began to gather and condense, becoming more pure and thorough. Both the quality and controllability were greatly improved. The mental power was transforming, and the spiritual energy of the whole body was also transforming. Originally, the spiritual energy in the body was dominated by the innate Qi rhyme, and the aura was guided by the aura. But now, the innate Qi rhyme is integrated into the aura, and there is no difference between them, so that the majestic aura of the whole body has aura. Gu Jin feels that the aura now seems to finally belong to him. When the transformation of mental power and spiritual energy was complete, Gu Jin had already entered the Qinggu realm. The mental power spread out, covering an area of 1,800 meters in an instant. With the increase of the ruby, it reached 2,700 meters, which was much stronger than many practitioners in the Qinggu realm. Moreover, compared with before the breakthrough, the mental power was larger and more pure and condensed. After entering the Qinggu realm, Gu Jin's strength increased greatly, and he also needed to plan the direction to go next. Qinggu, as the name suggests, inherits the wisdom of the ancients, inherits the past and opens up the future, has inheritance, and also innovation, standing on the shoulders of giants and spreading wings. Now he needs to find a powerful practice method. Of course, this is not easy and requires opportunities. Secondly, it is the direction of upgrading. The Yangqi realm opens up the meridians, and the Qinggu realm is to condense mental power and open up acupoints. The stronger the mental power, the more six you can sense. The more acupoints are opened, the stronger the life wheel will be formed by the fusion of mental power and the whole body's spiritual energy. Therefore, after entering the life wheel realm, the combat power advantage of the same level is obvious. Therefore, if Gu Jin wants to open more acupoints, he needs stronger mental power, and in addition to relying on spiritual medicine to improve, he also needs to upgrade his brain. Therefore, in the next upgrade, the brain will be an important part for him to consider. But now the brain has broken the second limit, and to continue upgrading, it needs to use the second limit, which only happens once a week. It is difficult to make the brain reach a new limit again in a short period of time. Therefore, spiritual medicine is also a part that needs attention, such as the mustard god root and other spiritual medicines that can enhance mental power. And his biggest advantage is that spiritual medicines like the mustard god root will produce resistance after taking too much, thus losing their effect, but he is immune to it. He can use ghost fog to swallow spiritual medicine and enhance ghost fog to achieve the purpose of giving strong mental power. Because in essence, ghost fog is his mental power transformation, there is no difference between the two this week. Then, Gu Jin looked at the place he was most concerned about, which was his upgrade talent. When he broke through to the Yangqi realm, the upgrade talent showed a change that could break the second limit upgrade number once a week. Now he has broken through again and stepped into the Qinggu realm, and he is looking forward to the change in ability. He deeply knows that the upgrade talent is his biggest trump card. Immersed in the mind, communicating with the upgrade talent engraved in the depths of the soul, after a moment, Gu Jin understood the change in upgrade ability after the realm breakthrough. There is no change in the number of upgrades, but the restrictions on upgrades have been loosened. Originally, Gu Jin could only upgrade his body, but now, in addition to upgrading his body, he can also upgrade what he remembers or masters in his mind. If a strange sword technique is given to Gu Jin cannot upgrade it, but if he memorizes the content of the sword technique in his mind, or learns and masters this sword technique, he can upgrade the sword technique. After learning about this ability, Gu Jin was surprised. In the cultivation world, the emergence of powerful skills, secret arts, and techniques will cause bloody battles in October. Because there is a powerful skill that can make practitioners practice faster, stronger at the same level, and even some heaven-defying skills can allow practitioners to fight across levels. The same is true for secret techniques. The ability to upgrade can upgrade the knowledge learned and memorized, which gives Gu Jin a huge advantage over other practitioners. Just like now that he has broken through to the Qinggu realm, ordinary practitioners who do not have a backing family master have to rely on themselves to seek skills with great difficulty. But how can a good technique be obtained so easily? This makes ordinary practitioners at a disadvantage when facing practitioners with family inheritance. But Gu Jin doesn't have to worry. Even if he can't find a good technique, he can just use the bodybuilding method to upgrade. I think the effect is not bad, right? Of course, Qianli Zhao, he had the idea of upgrading with the bodybuilding method a long time ago, but now he thinks that it is a waste of upgrade times. The bodybuilding method can be regarded as the crystallization of the wisdom of the ancestors, but no matter how perfect it is only used to build the foundation. In essence, it is too bland. It is the most suitable technique for practitioners in the early stage, but it seems useless when it comes to Qinggu. Even if the upgrade has earth-shaking changes, the bodybuilding method has new characteristics and becomes powerful. But if the same number of upgrades is used to upgrade a more powerful technique, the effect will undoubtedly be better. Just like Ba Ti, although this technique is not considered advanced, its power far exceeds the bodybuilding method. Therefore, Gu Jin is now thinking about whether there is a chance to find a powerful technique, and then upgrade it to use as his core technique, or if he really can't find it, he can only use Ba Ti to upgrade, and I think the effect will not be bad. Episode 86. Spiritual Heaven. Gu Jin gradually felt how difficult it was to make any progress on the path of cultivation without resources and background, compared to those disciples of aristocratic families. When he entered the Qinggu realm, he would probably be able to obtain the inherited skills, and he didn't need to worry about it at all. As long as the qualifications are not too bad, the path of cultivation will basically go smoothly. Compared with other practitioners without background, Gu Jin is considered good. He has the talent for upgrading. He believes that even if his path is tortuous, one day he will be above all living beings. Unconsciously, this idea was engraved deep in Gu Jin's heart, and the seeds were planted, waiting for the time to sprout. In the Qinggu realm, the acupoints are opened, the mental power merges with the spiritual energy, communicates with the acupoints, and forms the life wheel, thus entering the life wheel realm. The more acupoints are opened, the stronger the life wheel. But in addition to this, it is also closely related to one's own mentality. There are countless life wheels, and each person is different. The life wheel can be said to be the spiritual consciousness of the practitioner, the spiritual body. The collection of everything. So the stronger and more fearless the mind is, the life wheel will be contaminated with the aura and become strong and fearless. Then, Gu Jin continued to practice. 287. The human body has a total of 365 acupoints. When he broke through to the Qinggu realm, he had already opened the first acupoint, the Shenting acupoint. Then, Gu Jin sensed the other acupoints. With his current mental power, he could easily sense the existence of many acupoints, and then open them with a majestic and powerful spiritual energy. Boom! 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 The spiritual energy was surging in the body. Every time Gu Jin opened a new acupoint, his spiritual energy and mental power would be tempered and improved. In the early morning, the morning light fell, and Gu Jin woke up from his practice. The moment he opened his eyes, a ray of light like thunder flashed, and the sun was instantly dimmed. After calming the surging spiritual energy in his body, Gu Jin was very satisfied with the results of his practice last night. Last night, he broke 12 acupoints at once, and his spiritual energy was tempered and improved, becoming more and more huge, and his mental power was improved and condensed with the opening of each acupoint. Every time an acupoint was opened, Gu Jin's mental power perception range increased by 100 meters. Now, his mental power can sense a radius of 3,000 meters, backed. He can also estimate his mental power, which is roughly equivalent to that of a practitioner who has broken through 36 acupoints, which is already good in the Qinggu realm. You know, he has just entered the Qinggu realm. If the ruby is added for amplification, his mental perception range can reach a radius of 4,500 meters, which is extremely amazing. Moreover, if people knew that he had just broken through the Qinggu realm and broke 12 acupoints at once, they would definitely be shocked. When someone just entered the Qinggu realm, they had to concentrate their mental power at the beginning, and when the mental power accumulated to a certain point, they could vaguely sense the existence of the acupoints. Unlike Gu Jin, who had mental power before the Qinggu realm, and then broke 12 acupoints at once with the momentum of the breakthrough. After washing, Gu Jin did not go to the college, and he had said goodbye yesterday. He planned to go to the college today to apply for the assessment of entering the Qinggu realm class, but he was not in a hurry now, so he started to make talismans and engrave talismans. After entering the Qinggu realm, his mental power became more massive, pure, and condensed, which made Gu Jin's speed of making runes a qualitative leap. This gave him the idea of trying advanced formations. Those who can engrave advanced formations are not necessarily advanced formation masters, but advanced formation masters can engrave advanced formations. The reason for this saying is very important. Advanced formation masters can get rid of paper, pen, beast blood, spirit stones, etc. They can engrave runes in the void and lay down the formation in a moment. They have gradually gotten rid of the need to prepare various runes in advance and bombard various talismans during the battle. At this level, the weakness of the formation master when facing the cultivator in the battle began to be smoothed out, and gradually became stronger. But it is not easy to engrave in the void. The formation master can only thoroughly comprehend the formation runes with his mental power, and let the mental power continue to condense and become stronger in the process to reach the state of integrating the formation runes with the mental power. At this time, the formation master will condense his spiritual power into the sky, so as to engrave runes in the void. The sky corresponds to the life wheel of the practitioner. Now Gu Jin's spiritual power quality and attainments in the formation are among the strongest among the intermediate formation masters. Just look at his high production of runes and talismans every day. This is not something that a normal intermediate formation master can do. But there is still a big gap between condensing spiritual power into the sky and engraving runes in the void. However, if he can't engrave runes in the void, he can't become a high-level formation master, but it doesn't mean that Gu Jin can't try to engrave high-level formations. He can engrave high-level formations in spirit stones. Of course, primary spirit stones cannot withstand the formation of high-level formations. At least intermediate spirit stones are needed, and even most high-level formations need to be engraved with high-level spirit stones. Gu Jin's research on high-level formations is not for profit, but to increase his own trump cards. Although he usually looks lazy and carefree, Gu Jin is very aware of danger in times of peace. And now, there is a ready-made advanced formation for him to study. It is the subformation of the mother-child space formation and 2 large advanced defense formations. The formation drawings filled with the breath of space emerged in his mind. Gu Jin, who has the ability to teleport, has an inexplicable familiarity with this formation. The advanced formation runes are not difficult for Gu Jin, who has a demon-level formation talent. Even the top formation runes can be understood by Gu Jin if he spends time thinking. The only question is whether it can be engraved. He took out a primary spirit stone. After many transformations and tempering, his mental power became extremely condensed. He held the spirit stone in one hand and engraved with the other hand. There was a bright light on his fingertips, which was his mental power condensed to the extreme. As his fingertips swayed, a rune emitting a mysterious breath appeared in the void and was randomly engraved on the spirit stone. The spirit stone vibrated slightly and radiated brilliance. When the brilliance was restrained, Gu Jin knew that he succeeded. But being able to successfully engrave a high-level rune is just a trivial beginning. The runes that make up the subarray method include hundreds of high-level runes. There are also more intermediate and primary runes as basic connections. So many complex runes are combined and arranged to form a complete array. Episode 87. Chunggu Assessment. Gu Jin took another spirit stone and tried to engrave it. This time, he engraved part of the subarray structure at a time. Dozens of arrays exuded transparent brilliance in the void, as gorgeous as crystal. 3 high-level runes as the main body, 6 intermediate runes as the foundation, plus 18 primary runes as the connection, forming a complex structure. People with low talent in array formations would probably feel dizzy when seeing it. The array was successfully engraved, but Gu Jin's mental power was not condensed into the sky, so the array in the void would soon dissipate and need to be immediately engraved into the spirit stone to be preserved. KYY. The array was engraved on the spirit stone by Gu Jin. The spirit stone made a cracking sound in the bright light, and then shattered, and the array inside also collapsed instantly. Gu Jin didn't feel too sorry. It was normal that the primary spirit stone could not bear it, but he didn't have an intermediate or high-level spirit stone in his hand, so he could only use the primary spirit stone to connect. He patted the crumbs on his hands, picked up the bronze ancient sword that was put aside, hung it by his side, and then went out. First, he went to the ancient artifact pavilion to hand over the talisman to Chen Geng, and gave him a sum of primary spirit stones to exchange for intermediate spirit stones and advanced spirit stones. And reminded him that when selling goods in the future, if customers pay with higher-level spirit stones, they can give discounts. After leaving the ancient artifact pavilion, Gu Jin went to the cafe to say hello to GCC. Today he had sent a message saying that he would not go to the academy, so that the other party did not need to prepare breakfast. In the administrative building of the Magic City Cultivation Academy, Gu Jin submitted an application to enter the Chenggu class assessment. If the assessment of the Yangqi realm enters a better class, you can get a more powerful mentor to teach, and you are surrounded by talented students, including top talents, and have a better competitive environment. Then the assessment of the Chenggu realm is taken seriously by more students. Because in the Chenggu realm, the allocation of resources begins to be based on the strength of the class. This is reality, fairness, and it should be. For example, if there is a secret realm with rich resources and great danger, if a strong class is allowed to enter at this time, it will be a test and an opportunity for the students. But for the weaker class, it will undoubtedly be a suicide mission. Therefore, the students can only blame their own lack of strength, not the reality of the world. Compared with the Battle of the Yangqi realm assessment, the Chenggu realm assessment is much more mysterious. It was the place where the little sister took Gu Jin to the assessment last time. The little sister looked at Gu Jin in surprise along the way. She was very impressed with Gu Jin. After all, she had never seen a boy with such a good appearance and demeanor. But how long has it been since she took him to the Yangqi realm assessment last time? He actually broke through to the Chenggu realm in such a short time. Such a cultivation speed is too terrifying, right? Even if he was anxious to break through the realm and did not work hard to polish his aura, it would not be possible to complete the 12 meridians and the 8 extraordinary meridians in such a short time. She became more and more curious about Gu Jin. If she was just a fangirl who only looked at his face before, now she was shocked by his talent. Maybe it won't be long before he surpasses her. Gu Jin left the administrative building under the guidance of the young lady. Isn't the assessment in the administrative building? Gu Jin asked curiously. The assessment of Chenggu realm is quite special. It is a level test. I heard that it was created by the dean, and the assessment result is also set by the dean. So, whatever score is given at the final level of the trial, you will get the same score. The young lady answered all the questions of Gu Jin and gave him a detailed introduction to the trial. In short, it is a comprehensive test of the strength of the practitioners in Qinggu realm. From various physical qualities, the quantity and quality of spiritual energy, attack power, defense power, attack technique mastery, body movement mastery, etc. In short, in this trial, various assessments will discover the various abilities of the trialists, and then score them according to the results and arrange the classes they enter. Under the guidance of the young lady, the two came to the square of the Qinggu realm class, and the dangerous peak was right in front of them. The Qinggu realm class is on the mountain, and you will come here to go to school in the future. The young lady smiled, and then took Gu Jin around the dangerous peak and followed the rugged path to an ancient forest in the back mountain. A stream was across the front, and on the other side of the stream was a dense ancient forest that covered the sky and the sun. This is the place for the test. Go over. Once you step over the stream, the test will begin. The young lady said, and she would tell Gu Jin everything she could say along the way. What score she could achieve depended on Gu Jin's own strength. 0. Ask for flowers. Gu Jin nodded and recalled what the staff lady said. The class allocation will be arranged according to the students' specialties. For example, those with outstanding physical fitness will be arranged together, and the instructor of this class is also a practitioner who majors in the body. This is a bit like teaching students in accordance with their aptitude. Gu Jin thought about what he was good at, and it seemed that he was strong in all aspects, right? Since there was no class he particularly wanted to enter, there was no need to deliberately show his strength in any aspect, so Gu Jin decided to remove some of his trump cards. Such as flying, teleportation, thunder, golden flame and other special and powerful characteristics will not be revealed. Will completely let go of his physical fitness, spiritual energy concentration, and mental strength. 0. See what level his basic strength has reached now. Then let's start. Gu Jin gathered his hair that had not been cut for a long time and began to grow longer. In China, after the age of 18, most people will choose to grow their hair and wear a crown, and this ancient charm will be inherited. As for before the age of 18, due to the nature of youth, they are not good at taking care of themselves. In addition, before the age of 18, except for geniuses, many people are practicing body training, and long hair is a bit of a hindrance, so they will not grow their hair. K. The long sword hanging from his waist was taken down, making a series of clear sounds. Gu Jin discovered that although this ancient long sword could not compare to a spiritual weapon in terms of power and quality, but it had a spirituality that even top spiritual weapons did not have. Anyway, Gu Jin loved it very much and used it easily. Huh. Gu Jin, wearing a black robe, was like a thick ink across the stream and then disappeared into the ancient forest. With Gu Jin's current speed, he could instantly cross 6 kilometers away with a full burst, but this ancient forest was towering, with giant trees tens of meters high, and the dense forest, Gu Jin could not use it recklessly. The trees in the ancient forest were vigorous, and many python-like vines were everywhere. Huh. The wind blew, and the fallen leaves were all over the sky, and the branches were swaying. Gu Jin's figure was extremely active and extremely quiet. Chi. Suddenly, the fallen leaves all over the sky attacked Gu Jin like countless arrows, the vines on the ground were like pythons, and the branches of the ancient trees were like spears piercing through. The storm-like attack overwhelmed Gu Jin. Episode 88. Beyond the evildoers. Gu Jin narrowed his eyes slightly, and the long sword pierced through the air, with green sword marks all over the void. All the attacking leaves, branches, and vines were cut down and turned into flying debris. Swish. Gu Jin's figure exploded in an instant. Although the ancient forest was dense, Gu Jin's control over his body was extremely terrifying. He exploded at 17 times the speed of sound in an instant, and teleported across dozens of meters. Then, when he was about to hit an ancient tree, he suddenly flashed away. Even practitioners who rely on body strength as the foundation would be shocked to see such body control. Boom boom boom. Behind him, there were countless leaves, piercing branches, and vines rolling like a king dragon. Unfortunately, Gu Jin was too fast, and the attacks behind him could not catch up at all. Suddenly, a harsh sound of suppressed wood came, and an ancient tree 10 meters in front of Gu Jin was pulled up, and huge branches swept across like a monster. The creaking wooden sound of 047 made people's teeth ache. With enemies blocking the way in front and soldiers chasing behind, Gu Jin stepped on the air and stopped. Clang! The long sword slashed backwards, a sword shadow smashed the attack behind him, and at the same time, a punch was thrown. Boom! The terrifying force roared like a wicked dragon, and the majestic spirit roared. His fist collided with the tree trunk as thick as his waist, making a heavy sound that made people's hearts suffocate. Crack! The huge branch made a cracking sound, and then it was shattered and exploded under Gu Jin's terrifying punch. By the stream, the staff lady saw that Gu Jin had just entered and the ancient trees were shaken. She couldn't help but widen her eyes. How come the wooden man appeared so quickly? It stands to reason that the wooden man is the final test for those who are good at speed, but Gu Jin had just entered and the wooden man was dispatched. How fast was Gu Jin? But before she was surprised for long, she saw him fall down one by one, the ground shook and collapsed, and the breath of illusion filled the air. The staff lady stared blankly at the scene in front of her. She was not surprised by each scene appearing alone, because they were all the final tests for geniuses in their respective fields of expertise. But what does it mean that they appear at the same time now? It means that the person being tested at this time is a powerful existence in all aspects. Boom boom boom. A loud sound that shook the earth came out, smoke and dust rose all over the sky, and the lingering sound was lingering, but the terrifying movement quieted down. Suddenly, the staff lady saw a figure piercing through the dust, and the wind swept up the dust around her, causing it to scatter in disorder and fall beside her. Seeing Gu Jin's casual smile, she immediately came back to her senses, knowing that the assessment was over, and hurriedly looked at the assessment results. Rating: breaking the formation level. Def. The staff lady took a breath of cold air. Although she had already guessed it vaguely when she saw the horrible assessment scene before, she was still shocked and stunned when she really saw the result. Unexpectedly, she thought that except for those two desperate figures, she would never see anyone else who could reach the breaking the formation level in her lifetime. But today, another person appeared. How terrifying is the breaking the formation level? Let's take an example to know that even a demon-level figure did not reach the breaking the formation level when he was assessed. This is not an existence that can be described by talent. Breaking the formation level? Gu Jin nodded when he saw his own evaluation. He had already seen that this ancient forest was an extremely large formation that integrated the characteristics of the 5 elements of gold, wood, water, fire, and earth. It can fully stimulate the qualities of the examinee in all aspects. Breaking the formation level, it is obvious that he has broken through the formation. Observing the expression of the young lady, Gu Jin thought that this rating should be considered very good. On the way back, the young lady of the teaching staff was not as active and talkative as when she came, and even gradually fell behind Gu Jin unconsciously. Looking at Gu Jin's back, her eyes were blank and empty, as if she remembered something. She still remembered that before she graduated from the academy, she was in the top class of the Fate Wheel level. One day, 2 stunning figures suddenly came to the class. One of them was in red clothes, with a stunning appearance that was difficult to describe in words. She was extremely tall, which made ordinary men feel oppressed. Her stunning appearance was naturally charming and domineering, and her sword-like eyebrows gave her enchanting face a hint of heroism. The calm gaze can make the person looking at her feel heavy pressure, and what is more shocking is the domineering power that looks down on the world. The other person seems to be loved by heaven and earth, with a variety of temperaments: pure, smart, enchanting, extraordinary, weak. No one knows which side is the real her, but there is no doubt that no matter which side, she is breathtakingly beautiful. She is like an elf under the moonlit lake, barefoot on the clear lake, filled with a mysterious atmosphere that makes people sink. 0. The 2 people are so young and so brilliant. She heard that they reached the level of breaking the formation during the Chingu realm assessment. Before this, no one in the Demon City Cultivation Academy had ever done it. Now that a few years have passed, what realm have the 2 people grown to? But no matter how long it has been, the despair of the 2 people that makes people never chase their backs is still deeply imprinted in her heart. Gu Jin turned around strangely and saw that the young lady was standing there in a daze, and couldn't help but call out softly. The other party came back to his senses and looked at him with a complicated smile. After the assessment, Gu Jin also got the information of his class, which was the top class in the Chingu realm. The students in the class are definitely geniuses, and many of them have top-level cultivation talents, and there are even people of amazing talent. After returning home, Gu Jin began to engrave runes. After completing the number required for tomorrow, it was already late. He brewed a pot of tea, holding the teacup in one hand and sipping it leisurely, while the other hand stroked the bronze sword, studying the space-type subarray in his mind. Late at night, Gu Jin opened his eyes, and the hand that had accidentally touched the long sword grasped the hilt, raised the long sword, and held it horizontally in front of his eyes, and his fingertips stroked the Qingyu sword body. The upgrade times have been restored. After entering the Chingu realm and gaining the ability to improve the skills and techniques in his memory, Gu Jin has been looking forward to tonight. 4.8 He wants to upgrade his swordsmanship. Although he has decided to upgrade his swordsmanship, the first order Gu Jin issued was Upgrade, Ghost Fog, Secret Art. For a moment, there was no movement. Seeing that the first limit of upgrade times failed, Gu Jin used the second upgrade times. Upgrade, encirclement secret art. Still no movement. Seeing that the upgrade failed to work on the ghost fog secret art, Gu Jin was not too surprised, or perhaps it was within his expectations. The upgrade ability is amazing, but he definitely does not think he can do anything. Just like giving him the most invincible martial arts in the world now, can he upgrade the invincible martial arts again after memorizing it? Maybe he can do it when his upgrade ability is strong in the future, but it is unlikely now. As the current situation, the level of the Ghost Fog secret art obviously exceeds the limit of the current upgrade ability. Episode 89. Sword Upgrade. K. The long sword hit the ground, and Gu Jin chose to upgrade his swordsmanship. Unlike upgrading various parts, after Gu Jin issued the upgrade command, there was no surging energy, only a mysterious aura enveloped him. Various insights about swordsmanship emerged in Gu Jin's mind. The realm of swordsmanship is divided into skills, momentum, intention, Tao, and the last nothingness. With Gu Jin's demon-level swordsmanship talent, his progress in swordsmanship should have been very fast. If he was given a swordsmanship, it would be easy for him to understand the sword momentum. Even from the time he learned swordsmanship to now, it might be enough to understand the sword intention of a swordsmanship. But Gu Jin still felt that his swordsmanship was not at the entry level. Why? Because of that barrier, illusory, but real. How can it be considered as an entry level in swordsmanship if there is still a barrier between him and the sword? Now, as Gu Jin upgraded, the mysterious aura permeated, making Gu Jin realize that the barrier that was originally unfathomable became clearer and clearer. Moreover, he gradually was able to grasp it, and then with the help of the mysterious energy 10 breaths, the barrier began to be shattered. Crack. Buzz. As the barrier was shattered, the long sword in Gu Jin's hand hummed violently, and the sound of the sword revealed emotions, as if it came alive. Chi chi chi. The invisible sword energy suddenly erupted, and the area within a radius of 10 meters around Gu Jin was ravaged by the sword energy. The ground was covered with deep, ravine-like sword marks and spider webs. The air was torn apart by the invisible sword energy, and the air exploded. Huh. Finally, Gu Jin woke up from his perception, upgraded, and the sword energy surrounding his body was condensed and dissipated. Lifting the long sword and stroking the bronze long sword's green sword body, Gu Jin's eyes revealed a happy look. The elusive barrier between him and the sword was finally shattered. Now he held the sword, and the feeling of no distinction between them allowed him to feel the pulse of the sword. The sword was gently swung down, making a slight humming sound, but the air within 10 meters was faintly filled with chaotic sword energy. Chi. Silently, a sword mark extending 1,000 meters appeared on the ground. Too strong. At this time, Gu Jin felt his sword skills. This kind of sword-wielding scene was shocking. Even when he was using the sword, Gu Jin put away his long sword and stood still. Chi. As he thought, the sword energy broke through the air. At the same time, Gu Jin's brain was opened again, and he circulated the spiritual energy in his body. His hands formed sword fingers and pointed out, and his lungs were sharp. Chi. A spiritual energy rushed out from Gu Jin's sword finger, like a brilliant rainbow piercing through the void, and sank into the water of Huangfu River dozens of meters away. Compared to before, the spiritual energy he emitted at this time was even sharper. The sword skills were finally introduced. Gu Jin sighed suddenly. If people knew what he was thinking now, they would probably want to beat him to death. After calming down, Gu Jin finally remembered to check the sword skills after upgrading. Sword skills, ultimate skill, +1. Ultimate skill? The ultimate skill? Gu Jin whispered, and various insights about swordsmanship emerged in his mind. Now, he has reached the pinnacle of pure swordsmanship, with his sword moves moving at will and his sword energy unbridled. The swordsmanship upgrade was completed, which made his strength improve again. Then Gu Jin began to consider another problem. That is, the continued upgrade of the brain. According to Gu Jin's thinking, his current upgrade times are insufficient, especially the second limit upgrade times once a week. Therefore, his way of upgrading is to pause after upgrading to break the limit and switch to upgrading other parts. Because everything breaks the limit, the moment of breaking the limit is the biggest breakthrough, and then a period of accumulation begins until it breaks again. Of course, there is growth in the accumulation process, but it is certainly not as good as when breaking the limit. It is better to use these accumulations to break the limit of other parts. For example, Gu Jin's second upgrade times are surplus now. He has accumulated 8 times so far, which can upgrade the parts that broke the second limit 8 more times. Now the parts that have broken the second limit are brain, meridians, heart, eyes, and feet. Originally, Gu Jin was thinking of saving the second upgrade times to break the second limit of other parts. But now he has changed his mind. In addition to the fact that brain upgrade is extremely important for his cultivation in the Qinggu realm, another point is that he does not need to consider saving the second limit upgrade times at present. Because he still has 8 times saved, these 8 times can be used and consumed. If he needs to break the second limit of other parts, it will take 5 days to upgrade them to the limit, and then he needs to use the second limit upgrade times to break the limit. And 5 days are enough for the second limit upgrade times to recover. Therefore, Gu Jin decided to use the 8 accumulated upgrade times. Brain, upgrade. He has never been a hesitant person. Issue the order immediately. Boom. The magnificent energy swept through the brain, and the brain was fully transformed and strengthened under the transformation of energy, with a larger mental power and more outstanding talent. When the upgrade is completed, the brain becomes Brain, clarity +3, quick thinking +6, spiritual understanding +2. Thinking, memory, reaction, control of the body, balance and coordination, etc. are all enhanced. His mental power has also been improved, and the improvement is extremely amazing. Now his mental power can cover a radius of 4,000 meters in an instant. This is without the use of ruby amplification. If it is amplified, it can reach a radius of 6,000 meters. 337. As long as his basic mental power is stronger, the amplification effect of ruby will be more terrifying. Gu Jin was very surprised by the changes brought about by the brain upgrade, and felt that the decision to upgrade the brain was correct. One upgrade is equivalent to increasing his mental power by the number of acupoints opened. If his brain continues to upgrade, his mental power will be more terrifying than the person who broke 365 acupoints in his body. And those who can break 365 acupoints are all geniuses and monsters. Now Gu Jin is on the road to surpassing geniuses and monsters. Next, Gu Jin continued to upgrade his brain, with a smile on his lips. This feeling of increasing strength with just one thought really makes people feel comfortable. Brain, clarity +3, quick thinking +6, spiritual understanding +3, mental power perception area 5,000 meters. Spiritual understanding +4, perception of 6,000 meters. Spiritual understanding +5, perception of 7,000 meters. Finally, Gu Jin's second upgrade was used up, and the brain condition became Brain, clarity +3, quick thinking +6, understanding +9. Not only did his talent increase, but his mental perception range reached 11,000 meters. 8 upgrades were equivalent to opening up 80 acupoints for his mental power. Now, in terms of mental power alone, he is equivalent to a practitioner who has opened up 110 acupoints in the Qinggu realm. Episode 90. Good acting. After the upgrade, Gu Jin began to practice. Although the strength improvement brought by the upgrade was amazing and easy, daily practice was also indispensable. Because he did not obtain the skills, Gu Jin still simply relied on the circulation of the spiritual energy in his body to absorb the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. This efficiency was certainly not as good as practicing the skills. But Gu Jin's body has various characteristics, such as the heart is constantly absorbing and tempering the spiritual energy, such as the lungs can swallow the spiritual energy when breathing. This makes his practice speed not worse than those who practice ordinary level skills. After practicing for one night, Gu Jin opened up 3 acupoints, which was already amazing. Some people who practiced low-level skills could not do it. But Gu Jin knew that it was easy to open acupoints in the early stage of Qinggu realm, and it became more and more difficult as time went on. It seemed that he had to look for skills in the near future. In fact, Gu Jin's current military merits can be exchanged for good skills, because for practitioners in Qinggu realm, there are discounts when exchanging skills. However, the exchanged skills can only be practiced by oneself, and cannot be taught, and the discount is only limited to the Qinggu realm period. But after Gu Jin looked through it, he found that his military merits could indeed be exchanged for a good technique, but it was not at the level he wanted. Finally, Gu Jin decided that since his current cultivation progress was not slow, he would take advantage of this time to find out if there was a chance to obtain a powerful technique. If not, he would exchange for a decent one and practice with the upgrade of Ba Ti. He would replace it with a better one later. In the early morning, the sky was a little gloomy. Gu Jin first went to the ancient artifact pavilion to put down the talisman, and then came to the academy with GCC's breakfast. GCC seemed to have fully recovered in the past few days, and there was no trace of the impact of the incident at the beginning. But Gu Jin could not forget the look and smile he saw when he looked back when he left GCC's house. However, GCC said that she was sorting out the inheritance recently and mastering her awakening ability. Arrived at the academy and went to his class according to the information sent by the academy. came to the square of Chingu realm, passed through the square, and came to the bottom of the strange and dangerous mountains. This was Gu Jin's first time here. A stone staircase in the middle zigzags upwards. Due to the steep mountain, it soon disappears into the mountain. Going up the stone staircase, when he reaches the top of the mountain, Gu Jin feels that his eyes are open. In the center of the mountain is a huge lake, surrounded by steep cliffs and pavilions. In the center of the lake, there is a platform where many people are discussing. Looking at the unique scenery in front of him, there are waterfalls pouring down from the cliffs, dotted with exotic flowers and plants, and the magnificence is revealed in the world. Going up a plank road embedded in the cliff, he came to the other side of the cliff and saw a beautiful attic standing on the top of the mountain, one part of it sticking out of the cliff, and the other part standing on the top of the mountain. Looking out, he can see the gloomy clouds rolling. Gu Jin can't help thinking that if it is a sunny day, it should be a beautiful scenery with white clouds like the sea and the golden sun shining. Coming to the attic, because it is cloudy, the wind is slightly cool. Entering the attic, which was originally a little noisy, suddenly became quiet, and everyone cast their eyes. "Excuse me, what can I do for you?" Someone asked curiously. "I'm new here," Gu Jin said politely with a smile. "New classmate?" His words caused a lot of discussion, but what made Gu Jin happy was that most of the practitioners in the Chingu realm were older than those in the Yangqi realm, and relatively more mature. There were no blatant provocations, inquiries, and dissatisfaction that he faced at the beginning. Everyone welcomed him in a friendly manner. Many people who had heard about him before asked curiously. Regardless of whether they were sincere or not, at least everyone made Gu Jin feel comfortable. Gu Jin couldn't help but feel that he had finally left those middle school kids. It seemed that the next time would not be too boring. I found a seat by the side and sat down. Next to me was a valve. The valve was opened and outside was a corridor with railings. Outside the railings were dark clouds. After waiting for a while, the bell rang and everyone got ready. Footsteps were heard outside the corridor and a figure walked in. It was a female teacher. Unfortunately, she was not young and beautiful, and she was not attractive. She was an old lady with gray hair, slow movements, a kind and friendly smile on her face, and her eyes were narrowed with laughter. The old lady stood on the stage, and her every move was so slow that it made people feel uncomfortable. She smiled kindly and said, "Good morning, students." The old voice was very peaceful. "Good morning, Mr. Mu." Everyone said in unison, and Gu Jin also knew the name of this old lady. Mr. Mu nodded slowly, turned slowly, raised his head slowly, opened his eyes slowly, looked at Gu Jin slowly, opened his mouth slowly, and then spoke slowly. "Is this a new student?" Gu Jin was stunned. After hearing what she said, he actually felt relieved and nodded, "Yes, good." He was worried about Mu Lao just now. Gu Jin noticed that many students smiled, some of them gloated over others' misfortunes, not because of any bad intentions, but because of a prank. Puff. Suddenly, a pretty girl with a ponytail couldn't help laughing out loud, lying on the small table, her ponytail shaking. "Ah, Sui Wenqing. Sorry, I really can't help it." Fu Wenqing laughed until tears came out, waved her hands repeatedly, and looked at Mu Lao. "Grandma Mu, your slow opening of your eyes and mouth just now was like a sloth." Mu Lao laughed and scolded, "Didn't you little guys let me team up to play a prank?" Now her expressions and movements are all at a normal speaking speed, giving people a feeling of neither rush nor slowness, without the suffocating feeling of being so slow that it made people nervous just now. "Gu Jin, don't mind, these little monkeys are just joking with you, they knew you were coming. Zhao Zhao is good, too." Mu Lao smiled lovingly. Gu Jin was stunned. He didn't expect that everyone was acting just now. He didn't notice it for a while. He wouldn't stare at the dialysis eyes for no reason. But Gu Jin couldn't help but smile gently, which made the girls look like crazy. "It's okay, I think it's interesting, especially your actions, Mu Lao." Gu Jin smiled gently. He suddenly found that this class was quite interesting, relaxed, natural and clear. "Okay, welcome to the new students, let's start the class." Mu Lao waved his hand. After the ancient realm, cultivation depends on talent, skills, resources, and then hard work. But Gu Jin found that the simple words of the old man in front of him conveyed the perception of cultivation to everyone, which benefited people a lot. Gu Jin felt that the realm of this old man was definitely not simple.